Good afternoon. Hi, I'm so pleased to be part of this awesome conference. My name is Mirjana, and today I would like to share with you not only my experience, but also to show you a missing ingredient that can really improve the process of translating software to many languages. I mean, we've been translating software for years, decades, right? And there are many well-established procedures that support this. And today, we live in a really exciting times when we have all of these state-of-the-art algorithms, browser plugins, advanced mobile applications, even gadgets that do real-time translation. Do you know how I feel? Do you remember the Star Trek Universal Translator? Yeah, it appeared in the first series and also in the last one, the Discovery one. Or have you read Douglas Adams' book with the bubblefish? Yeah, you know, the fish that you enter in your ear and you magically start to understand everybody no matter which language they speak. Well, it feels like all of these childhood fantasies are becoming a reality now. I mean, real-time translation is not science fiction anymore. We are doing it every day, all the time. But you know what? Even though all of these technologies are on the tip of our fingers, they can still create misunderstandings. And something similar happened at the beginning of this year during the Winter Olympic Games to the Norwegian Olympic chefs. They tried to order 1,500 eggs, that is 1,500 eggs. But yeah, they somehow ended up with the delivery of 15,000 eggs. I assume you would not like something similar to happen to your business, right? I mean, I was just assuming, how many chickens, how many hens did they need in order to fulfill such a huge order? Or just imagine how many cakes would these Olympic chefs need to bake before they consume all of these eggs, before they get spoiled? Well, my point here is that even though real-time translation has been present for a while in the online world, in the software world, it still cannot replace the professional translators and the professional translation process. And there is a study that shows that last year, in 2017, there were as many as 139 different languages present in the online world. And on this chart, you can see the proven leaders in the economic opportunity versus the audience. So the ability to communicate the branded message into the native language of your targeted audience is still very valuable and critical for your business. And of course, one of the phases in this multilingual software development lifecycle is text translation. You know, even though it may seem like a small part, you know, something aside, minor, it still can have a huge impact to the client, to the customers. I mean, it's the face to the customer, first thing that they see. So here is an example of a text translation process. This is taken from our Trema open source plugin, which we use in almost all of our projects in my company. So at the beginning, when the application development starts, all the text is parameterized using a text key and a text value pair. So at the beginning, the text values may be empty or may have values that are dummy and placeholders. And this is the initial, this is the undefined state of the application. And then the text values are filled in with the correct ones using only one language, the so-called default language. And this becomes the initial state of the application. So this text key and text value pairs stored in a separate text resource file, which is sent to be translated. So when the translation is finished, the translated text values need to be re-imported back into the application and, of course, reviewed and verified. So it may take days, even weeks, before each text value passes from the initial to the verified state. And here is an example of a workflow. I mean, just for simplification, only 3 parties are shown here: the development team, the translator, and the validator. Please notice that it already takes 9 steps. I mean, what if a rework is needed? Then, of course, additional iteration will need to start, and of course, it adds time and cost to the whole process and to the whole translation process. So, in order for the translation not to be executed out of, in isolation and also out of the context, everybody from the team contributes to provide context-related information to the translators, starting from the product owners, requirement engineers, usability engineers, right? By providing the specification, style guides, user manuals, and of course, the developers contribute. This is an example of a source code of a text resource file, and this is also taken from our Trema open source plugin. So here you can see this text resource file stores the text key, the text value, and the developer here also enters the context where this text value is used in the application. And of course, it also has the process, initial, verify, translate, in which state this text value is. So, of course, this format is not readable. Usually it's exported in a more readable format like Excel and sent to the translators to be translated. So from this example, the translator would need to translate the word view into German, right? It is in the initial state in German. But view in English can be both noun and a verb, right? But in German, it can be Sichtweise, Ansicht, Ausblick, which are nouns, or it can be anschauen, ansehen, anziehen, which are verbs. I mean, of course, if we know that this is going to be used in software, we can eliminate some of the options, such as Ausblick. But my point is that we still have many options to choose from. So, all of this context-related information that we already have does not give us enough detailed information how to translate this particular word, this particular text value, right? So what do we do? Well, we give access to the translators to our application so they can experience it, you know, they can really click it and feel how, where, and when the content is appearing. But let me ask you, is this enough? Is all of this enough in order for the translators to get the correct translation right from the start, right from the first iteration? Well, yeah, sometimes. But let me tell you, usually it is not enough. Yeah, and why? Because you may end up in situations such as this. Here, the translator is asking, hey, what do I need to do in order for this text to appear in the user interface? I mean, what do I need to click? Where is it happening? How do I make it show up? So if you're using this approach, then your translators will need to acquire really excellent domain knowledge of your software. And even if they do, what if the translator and the validator and all the other parties need to go through the application again and again just to verify something small somewhere? I mean, no wonder then the whole process will last for days, even weeks, before each text value passes from the initial to the verified state, right? Well, what can we do? I mean, how can we experience the content even better? Well, we are at the Selenium conference, and of course, we can reuse our Selenium tests. Why? Because they know our software best. We have already programmed them to sniff all of our hidden little corners of our application, you know, just like bloodhounds, you know, with all the error messages, warning messages, border cases, everything. And of course, they can grab screenshots in a consistent manner. So now we have the Selenium tests and the screenshots. We can pack a unique set of screenshots, send them together with the content that needs to be translated to the translators, and that's it, right? I assume some of you are already familiar with this approach. Show me your hands if, yeah. Well, For those who still haven't got the chance to do this, you can see how much better it is when you have a screenshot with the content that needs to be created. You remember the word view which you wanted to translate previously? Well, if you have a screenshot, then you can easily see that this word view is used as an action here in the user's table view. But let me ask you again. Also, yeah, with screenshots, we can easily detect not translated text, you know, the placeholders. And by the positioning and the surroundings where this is used, the translator can provide correct and unambiguous translation right from the first iteration, right from the start. And also, similar as movie translators, you know, who need to fit in the translation according to the actor's mouth opening. Well, software translators, they need to fit in the translation according to the page layout. And of course, if we have a screenshot like this, we can easily see which text is a little bit off, work on it, make it shorter, and voila, the scroll bar is removed. See? Make it shorter, voila, scroll bar, no scroll bar, fit in, fine, perfectly. But again, is this enough? Yeah, sometimes, but they are not enough. In my personal experience, this was not enough. Then they were not, all of this was not enough, especially when we had to work and when we had to customize a code for which we did not have the complete ownership to change it and to improve it. And of course, when we had to work with really flexible designs. So let me tell you why screenshots were not enough. Some examples. So we are on a change profile page, right? The user is already registered. Notice something here? How did this registered text appear here? Yes, the user, this is change profile, the user is already registered. Well, these issues usually happen because text keys, developers would usually reuse the text keys across the application, in the buttons, in the titles, in the error messages. Yeah, they're lazy, they want to reuse. But in this particular example, the text key, the same text key that is used here in this register submit button on the change profile page is the same text key that is used on the registration page. So any change that was done on the registration page, submit button, it's reflecting back here on the change profile page. And vice versa, if you try to fix this, then this change will also appear on the registration page. And this may also happen with the change profile with the title. What if this particular title has to have capital P? And what if this text key that is used here is used somewhere else in the application where no capital letters are needed? I mean, how many iterations will it need to pass before we notice this? And here is another example that may happen. Notice the double minus here? Well, this happened because this particular sentence was created by concatenating text keys. I mean, there is a suffix and there is a prefix and suffix before and after the link here that is used. So if we only had screenshots that show the content, issues such as these do not become visible right from the start. I mean, only after the second, the third iteration. So with screenshots, we can experience the content, but I think that we cannot quite experience the context. Something is still missing. So I'm going to reveal the ingredient that helped us expose all of these common traps and made them more visible and obvious right from the start. So ready? Let's experience the context now. So together with the screenshot that shows the content, we also provided a screenshot that shows the text key. I mean, showing the page layout with the text keys was the best way to visualize how the content is created and what is going on under the hood. So feel the transformation. Here is the screenshot that shows the content, the text key, the translated content. And here is the content, the same page, the same layout with the text keys. I mean, the concatenation of the text keys is clearly visible, right? So if the translator has a screenshot like this provides enough information, enough context information for the translator to get the proper sentence. And with screenshots that show the text keys, we can easily detect not localized text. Not translated, not localized. And these issues are really hard to detect because they're hard-coded directly in the code and coming directly from the template. And we are back on the change profile page because I would like to share another specific example. Here is the same page with the text keys. So notice it has 3 input fields in the form and only 1 text key for the error message. So what if we wanted this same text, the error message, to point out which input field has wrong values? So, for example, if the email input field has wrong values, then the message would be something like error email adresse. If the password has wrong value, it will be error passwordless. And if the telephone number has wrong value, then it will be error telefonnummer. So in the first iteration, the translation might look like this. Notice the field parameter there? That is dynamically changed from the code corresponding to which input field has wrong value. But you know what? This sentence is correct only for the email address and for the telephone number, because the email address, the telephone number, and thus password, they all have different declinations. And if the translator has a screenshot like this, the translator can go through this thought process and, of course, think of a better translation message, such as this, for example, that can cover both the declinations and at the same time point out which input field has wrong value. And look at this design. I mean, this page has only 3 text keys. I mean, we can really feel how the content is created. And we can see that in order to make this page more visually comfortable to the eye, more beautiful, we need to use line breaks. And we can use this without going to the developers and designers to change the template and to redesign it. So we can really improve the translation productivity with these screenshots. So now you know the missing ingredient, right? Let me put, next step, all the pieces together and show you how to build the application to show the text keys. Well, this is a standard Java resource file. You know, the text key and the text value pairs. So all you need to do for the application to show the text keys is just remove the text values, and that's it. I mean, I know that this depends on the implementation. Usually this is the default one. And if you have a more complex one, like this Trema text resource file, like an XML format, then all you need to do is remove the text key and text value pairs, leave the heading, and then the application will show the text keys. Or if you have an Android application that stores the content in the strings XML file, then you can use this search replace regular expression, change the text values with the text keys, and now no matter of what kind of implementation you have, now the application must show the text keys. And to make life more easier, we can automate this. I mean, we can make it use any continuous build. I mean, there are many ways how to do this. I mean, I don't know, you can pre-prepare 2 files like here, one with the empty values, one with the correct ones, rebuild the application accordingly. or you can have a script that will delete the text values before the build, or I don't know, sometimes if you do not want to rebuild the application, maybe you can use a non-existing, non-supported language, like mine, Macedonian. So anyway, you choose you according to your environment. But the point is that when you rebuild the application to show the text keys, you will need to rerun the Selenium tests in order to get the same screenshots that you had with the content, and you have the matching one with matching one in a consistent way. So now you know the missing ingredient, and you know how to build the application to show the text keys. I would like to share some of my tips and tricks I would like you to keep in mind when you're developing your Selenium tests. I mean, the main point here is to keep the tests running even when the application shows the text keys, because they need to grab the needed screenshots. So my first tip is the coverage. It should be just enough. I mean, just enough to cover all the error, warning, info messages, border cases, unique ones. So don't overdo it. It should be just the minimum set of tests that you can run to get the unique screenshots, the templates that you have of your application. Next would be the locators. Be careful of the locators you choose to use. Why? Because they should not depend on the translated text. Because when the application shows the text keys, then the locator will not be found. Then the test will fail, will stop executing, and will stop taking the needed screenshots. And one of the most common used locator that depends on the translation is the link locator. So be careful when you're using it. And I prefer to use the verify command versus the assert command. Because if you're using the assert command, when the application shows the text keys, the assert will fail and will stop the execution of the test. And of course, the test will not get and will not take the needed screenshots. And with verify, the test will continue until the last step, and you will get the information that you need. So my point is that I always design my Selenium test to give as much information as possible at any time. So that's my last tip. So combining the screenshots that show the content with the screenshots that show the text keys was the best way to visualize how the content is created, to visualize the context of the content. And this was really helpful in situations where we did not have the ownership, we couldn't change the code and improve it. And of course, when we had to work with really flexible designs, and when we have to customize a product to many different customers and to many different projects with many different teams. So never forget that it is never enough to have as much as possible context-related information, because it speeds up the translation process. And of course, we can use Selenium tests to get these screenshots. We can use these kind of screenshots in a consistent manner, pair them, and together with the text key and the text values, send them and to the translators. Try to test your application while the text keys are shown. You might be surprised of the issues you may find. And of course, never forget to always have a clear workflow of your process to all involved parties. I mean, if you're using the legal and the marketing department, I mean, remember the workflow with only the 3 parties? I mean, what if we added the marketing and the legal department? Oh boy, then the workflow becomes much more complex. It's a continuous activity, presenting itself, yes, that can easily become chaotic one. And you know, while the translation is in progress, also the development is in progress. And you know, the text keys and the text values are evolving. New templates are added, some are changed. So when the translated text keys and text values come, then the developers will need to do some complex merges and, of course, additional verification and validation iterations may be needed here. So if you have a non-technical translators or stakeholders, take some time to introduce this concept, you know, text keys, text values. Keys are identifiers. Text values need to be translated in different languages, so you will not get in a situation where you get translated text keys. Yeah, sometimes this may happen. So it's a shorter one than the other ones, but I really would like to thank you for your attention. Please accept my humble gratitude. So always see the content, experience it, because it is never context-free.